Chapter 31, Makeover. It's Wednesday today, for days since Stephanie attended that party. When she eventually returned home, her parents were asleep and she tried her best not to wake them. The game of truth or dare continued at the party. Aspen came back, but didn't join them in the game. She had this gloomy look on her face. The game went on with stupid, crazy dares and embarrassing truths. The game ended when Was It Mia dared Chris to kiss Ivy. Chris had simply stood and walked away with Cleo trailing him. After he left, others didn't continue the game, they had lost interest. On Sunday morning, her dad was kinda pissed that she was out that late, but her mum calmed him down. Her mum, on the other hand, was happy, something about her beginning to behave like a normal high school teenager. Apparently, she wasn't behaving like one before. Her father eventually let it slide after giving her a warning: if she stays out so late again, she would be grounded for the rest of her senior year. The truth is that things have been a little different since the party. Stephanie can't help herself. She has been acting a little distant from Chris because of his confession, if it could be called that. If he has noticed it, he hasn't shown any sign that he has indeed noticed. She has been thinking about his answer. She can't help but feel like he was talking about her. And the fact that he was staring at her when he answered unnerves her. She thankfully hasn't had any clash with anybody since the week started. To be honest, Stephanie has been expecting a visit from Poison Ivy since she didn't exactly obey her instructions on Saturday night at the party. It's not that Ivy is some sort of boss to her that she has to obey her instructions. The correct sentence should be, since she didn't exactly heed Ivy's warning of staying away from Luke, she has been expecting her since Monday. For the last 2 school days, nothing has happened. She barely saw Ivy's face for those 2 days. Her face seems scarce now. And Steph's happy about it. But she still likes Luke, and she isn't exactly happy about that. It's not that Luke is a bad boy or anything, it's just that he has a girlfriend, not just any girlfriend, the mean bitch type of girlfriend that threatens other girls to stay away from her sweetheart. Even if the fact that Luke already has a girlfriend is ignored, if he doesn't actually have a girlfriend, she doesn't see herself being with someone like him. She just can't picture herself with him because they are of different social statuses. They are on different levels of the social ladder. Her crush on him, to her it's to pastime because they can't be together. To Steph, it's just like having a crush on a celebrity. You'd love to get a chance to be with that celebrity, perhaps even daydream and fantasize about it, but deep down, you know it's something that can never happen in real life. It can only happen in your fantasies or your dreams, never in real life. Stephanie is just one of those other girls that like Luke. She's trying her best to drive those feelings away, but they're still there. She avoids lengthy conversations with him, avoids close contact with him. She'd probably avoid him altogether, but that's not possible seeing that her best friend is dating his best friend. "I'll see you later, Steph," Brooke says as she shuts her locker to face Steph. Steph doesn't hear her though, since she's busy thinking. "Stephanie." Brooke snaps her finger to her face. "Yeah. Are you okay? You zoned out." "Sorry. I was just thinking," Steph answers. "About?" "It's nothing. I'll see you later," Steph says. "Okay," Brooke replies, looking at Steph and wondering why she doesn't want to tell her what she was thinking about. They part ways, seeing that they have different classes for first period. Brooke is excited for her first class because she shares it with her beloved boyfriend. It's even surprising that it's not every time he walks her to class. Some days, they act like they are attached at the hips, other days they don't, but you barely see days like this. Unlike Brooke, Stephanie isn't excited about first period. She doesn't have a boyfriend she shares it with. Instead, she has it with Christopher and his ex-girlfriend, Poison Ivy. Steph doesn't even get to class to see the aforementioned bitch because she gets blocked by her and her minion on the way. Why? Why couldn't she wait until I get to class or till after class? Steph laments in her head. "Hello, Stephanie," Ivy says in a falsetto voice laced with fake enthusiasm and accompanied by a fake smile. Steph is taken aback. Poison Ivy doesn't act nice to anyone, let alone a girl she has warned to stay away from her beloved boyfriend. Hi," Steph replies after some confusing seconds pass. We have first period together, right? Ivy asks. To Steph, it's kinda surprising that she noticed they have class together. Yeah. Can we talk to you for a minute? Ivy says, looking around. In private. Aspen nods. In the girls' bathroom. Steph feels like if she agrees, she'd be walking into her end or something, so she shakes her head in disagreement. What can they possibly want to talk to her about? It's not like they are friends or anything close to that. The only thing they can want to talk to her about is Luke. Steph remembers Ivy saying she doesn't warn anyone more than once. And she doesn't think Ivy counts Saturday night as staying away from Luke or not being anywhere near him. If she follows them into the girls' bathroom, she'd be walking to her doom. I have to get to class. We'll talk later. Steph mutters and tries to walk away. They both stop her. Bathroom. Now. Ivy says menacingly, her fake smile and enthusiasm gone. Steph takes a deep breath and turns around. Go on, we're right behind you. Aspen urges her. Steph begins to walk towards the girls' bathroom, with Ivy and Aspen right behind her. What are they planning? Steph mentally asks herself. She pulls her textbook closer to herself and hugs it. She sights some students rushing off to class and she wishes she can just join them. She was quite relieved when she didn't see Christopher come to walk her to class, but right now, she's wishing he did. If he did, she's pretty sure she wouldn't be on the way to the girls' bathroom with these witches. But he always insists on them walking together to class whenever they have the first period together, so what makes today different? Maybe he's running late, Steph assumes, but her subconscious assumes something else entirely. Maybe he's the one doing the avoiding this time around since you've been acting so distant and awkward around him. Maybe he has gotten tired of you since things seem to be going back to the way it was when he first started talking to you. No, trying to talk to you. Stephanie wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. It's even surprising that he's still here after all the hard time she has been giving him. But can you blame her? He has never noticed her, then boom. They kiss at a party during a stupid game and then he suddenly wants to be friends with her. She still believes he has an ulterior motive, but he has never for once mentioned their kiss. Steph walks into the bathroom first and Ivy and Aspen follow. Stephanie just stands awkwardly while Ivy proceeds to the front of the mirror. Aspen checks if the stalls are empty. We're alone, Aspen announces. Great, Ivy smirks and turns around to face Steph. You know, I've been waiting for an opportunity like this since Saturday, but that bitch, that best friend of yours, is always with you. It's like you guys are attached at the hip or something. Ivy pauses with a disgusted look on her face. If Brooke and I are attached at the hip, then you two are practically glued to each other, Steph muses. But she isn't here now, and I've got my chance. Ivy ends her speech. Even though Steph is kinda scared and has no idea what Ivy has planned, that doesn't stop her from asking. Wait. Are you scared of Brooke? She raises a mocking brow. Police. I'm not scared of her, Ivy flips her a bird. Sure, whatever makes you sleep at night. Steph mumbles under her breath. What was that? Nothing. So why am I here? Steph asks, a puzzled look on her face. I warned you. Ivy begins to circle Steph like a predator closing in on its prey. To stay away from Luke, but as the rebel you are, you decided to ignore them. Exactly what Steph thought this would be about. She looks at Aspen to see her smirking. There's something you need to know about me. What? Steph swallows the lump in her throat. I don't warn someone more than once. Ivy says to her face. You should know what this means. Aspen speaks. Steph narrows her eyes. What if I don't? You should. Ivy says calmly, too calmly for Steph's liking as she inspects her nails. What did I tell you the day I warned you? Warned? More like threatened, Steph thinks before answering. To stay away from Luke or you'll make my life miserable. Exactly. Ivy deadpans. Look, I don't have time for all this. I need to get to class, I'm already late. Steph says and tries to walk away. You're not going anywhere until I say so. Ivy bellows. Uh-huh. Aspen agrees and moves closer. We're talking about making your life hell and you're worried about being late to class? Ivy says through gritted teeth. She's a nerd. Aspen informs Ivy. Yes, I'm a nerd, and I'm proud of it. I'm not like you bird brains that might not know what the periodic table is. Steph retorts. Okay, did she just say that? Did she just reply poison ivy like that? She was initially scared of Ivy making her life miserable, but right now, she doesn't give a damn. Why was she even scared at first? Ivy is a girl like her. I can see you're mentoring under that bitch of yours. Ivy says menacingly. And I can see that you're still the same bitch everyone hates. Everybody loves me. Ivy scoffs. Steph snickers. Sure. Steph ignores Ivy's glare. And if I may ask, how do you intend to make my life hell? Ivy smirks as if she has been waiting to be asked that question. You don't need to know. Just watch and you'll see. Yada yada yada. Steph cuts her off, rolling her eyes. Let me guess, you'll make my non-existent boyfriend dump me and then end my non-existent social life? Steph gives her an incredulous look. Brooke was right. You're insecure. You know you aren't good enough for Luke, that's why you get scared when you see him with another girl even if it's just a friend. Steph states. Luke is lucky to have me. Ivy growls. I don't think he is. Steph shakes her head. I think he's only with you 'cause he doesn't know the real you since you're so good at acting. If he does, he'd run far, far away from you. You're provoking me, Ivy says through gritted teeth. I haven't made you mad yet? Steph muses as she imagines steam coming out of Ivy's ears. I'm only saying the truth. You know what they say. Steph shrugs. The truth is bitter. Even though Ivy knows there's truth in what Steph's saying, she'd never admit it. Aspen knows too, but she can't possibly say it to Ivy's face. Aspen still believes that Ivy cheating on a guy as hot as Chris was stupid. If she has someone like Chris as a boyfriend, she'd never let go. If not that Ivy said she isn't allowed to date any guy she dated, she'd probably be after Chris and not Jason. Steph sees the scowl on Ivy's face and takes a deep breath. I'd love to continue this heart-to-heart conversation. Steph lifts her fingers in inverted commas. But I don't have any more time to spare. So if you'd excuse me, I'd be leaving now. She turns around and heads for the exit as a grin appears on her face. To think that she was actually scared to walk in here with them, expecting something crazy to happen. Well, something crazy that she'd never forget did happen. She stood up to poison Ivy. She finally did it and nothing bad happened. Ivy didn't chop off her head or slap her. But just as Steph reaches out to open the door, a hand latches onto hers and roughly turns her around, making the textbook in her other hand fall to the ground. Hey, let me go, she squirms, trying to pry Ivy's hand off her, which only causes Ivy to smirk. Why don't we give you a little makeover before you leave? Ivy says with a wicked grin on her face. I agree, Aspen says as she grips Steph's second hand. No, leave me alone. But they do not listen to her. Okay, I spoke too soon, Steph decides. Chapter 32, Psychotic X. Christopher walked into first period class 5 minutes late and Mrs. Green wasn't pleased, as usual. The moment he entered the class, she had given him one of her glares and said, Late again, Hayes. She's talking like I come late all the time, Chris mumbled under his breath. What was that? The teacher demanded. Nothing. I'm sorry, Chris apologized. It won't happen again. That's what you said the last time. It's for real this time, Chris replied. Next time this happens, I won't hesitate to give you detention, she said. Now, go sit. Thank you, ma'am, Chris said and walked to his seat. Detention, he mused. That should be her last name since she loves it so much. Mrs. Detention, it suits her perfectly well. It was only after he had settled down that he noticed Hazel isn't in her usual spot. He looked around, wondering if she is seating somewhere else, because it was something she can do. Maybe she's gotten tired of him and decided to get herself a new seat. She has been acting strange this week, so that may have happened. But he doesn't find her in class. Even though she isn't the type to run late, Chris assumed that's what's up. But now, 20 minutes since he entered the class, her seat is still empty. Or could she be sick? Chris wonders. He doesn't think so. He has been occasionally staring at the entrance for those minutes, and she's yet to walk through that door. Chris doesn't even notice that Ivy too is absent, which would raise suspicions. After a few minutes more, Chris decides to text her. With his eyes set on the teacher, he discreetly pulls out his phone and holds it under his desk so that Mrs. Green wouldn't see it. He unlocks it to text her, and only then does he remember something very important that he should have remembered all this while. He doesn't have her phone number. Damn! Is the first thing that comes to his mind after the realization dawns on him. It has always been girls giving him their phone number, he never had to ask. He's so used to that he didn't realize he doesn't have Hazel's number. And knowing her, she can never just give it to him without him asking. He isn't even sure she'd give him her phone number if he asks. And he doesn't have Brooke's own either. Shows how different both girls are. Chris sighs. He has to find out why Hazel is not in class or if she's in school today. Right now. He can't wait till the first period ends. He thinks for a moment, staring at the board. Someone would think he's so interested in the lesson that he's lost in thoughts. He remembers Jason. And remembers that Jason knows Brooke. Jason once told him that he shares some classes with Brooke. Chris hopes one of those classes is first period on Wednesday. He decides to text Jason and try his luck. There's no harm in trying. Chris. Hey dude. Jason feels his phone vibrate in his pocket, but he doesn't make any move to pull it out. After a moment, as soon as the teacher has his back to him, Jason pulls his phone out subtly. He reads the text and frowns because Chris doesn't text him during a lesson. He finds it strange, but he knows whatever it is has to be important. So he replies. Jason. What's up? Chris. You know Brooke Dawson, right? Jason. Yeah. What about her? Chris. Do you guys have the same class right now? Jason. Yeah. Chris. Is she in class? Jason looks up and scans the class for the aforementioned brunette to find her present. Jason, she's here, and what's with all the questions? What's going on? Chris. I'll tell you all about it later. Is she perhaps sitting anywhere close that it'd be easy to pass a note? Jason. Surprisingly, yes. She's sitting right in front of me. Chris. Yes. Thank God. Jason. Okay. Jason has a puzzled look on his face as he looks up to see if the teacher has noticed that he isn't paying attention. Chris, I need you to do me a favor. Ask her if Stephanie is in school. Jason, I'll do that. Jason slips his phone on the desk, in such a way that it goes under his notebook so that nobody can see it. He pretends to be attentive for a minute, watching the teacher until he's focused on another side of the class. Then he leans forward on his seat so that he's closer to Brooke, who is sitting right in front of him. Hey! He whispers. Brooke furrows her forehead when she hears Jason whisper behind her, but she doesn't think he's talking to her, so she doesn't answer. Hey Brooke! Jason tries again. Brooke turns her head slightly to look at him from her peripheral vision. You're talking to me? She asks. Yeah. Is Stephanie in school today? He questions her. Brooke wonders why he's asking about her because, for all she knows, she doesn't think they've ever spoken a word to each other before. She hasn't spoken much to him either. She'd be surprised if he can match the name to Steph's face. It's nothing new because that's how things are around here. That's the way Steph wants it to be. She's okay with being a wallflower even though she's not so much of it anymore. She's friends with Chris and Luke. If you could somehow manage to gain the attention of the two most popular guys in school, then Brooke doesn't see you as a wallflower. The only thing that connects Jason to Steph is Chris. Maybe Chris has told Jason about Steph, that's why he's asking about her, Brooke muses. Yeah, she replies to his question. We came together. She should be in class. Is there a problem? No. There's nothing to worry about, thanks, Jason says and leans back to sit comfortably on his seat. Brooke purses her lips, shrugs, and focuses her attention back on the lesson. Meanwhile, Jason picks up his phone and texts Chris. Jason. According to Brooke, Stephanie is in school. They came together. She should be in class. Chris. But she isn't. Chris takes a deep breath and scans the class once again to make sure he's right. Where could she be? She doesn't miss class, Chris thinks. Jason. Do you want me to inform Brooke? Chris, no. Don't. Jason. Who is this Stephanie, by the way? Chris. You don't remember her? Jason furrows his eyebrows after reading Chris' text. He thinks but doesn't remember anyone named Stephanie. Jason. I can't remember anyone with that name. Who's she? Chris. Dude, we'll talk later. Thanks. Chris sends the final text and pockets his phone. He pinches the bridge of his nose, thinking. Something's not right. Why isn't she in class? Could she have decided to skip? Without telling Brooke? No. She couldn't. What if she's in some sort of trouble? Different kinds of assumptions rise in Chris' head. I need to find her, he decides. He rises to his feet and walks to the front of the class, not giving himself time to second guess. Mrs. Green lets out an irritated sigh, clearly peeved that he's interrupting. What is it, Hayes? She demands. I need to use the bathroom, he tells her. You came late to class, and now you want to leave to use the restroom? Yeah, Chris shrugs. He doesn't have time for this. Am I excused? He probes when he feels like she's taking too long to answer. Mrs. Green doesn't want to permit him to leave the class, but she has no choice. When nature calls, you've gotta go. You're excused, but be back in the next 5 minutes. I'll try, Chris replies as he walks out of class, different pairs of eyes watching him. After sneaking around in search of Steph for some minutes, Chris decides to check the girls' bathroom. Now that he thinks about it, he should have thought about going there first. Even though he doesn't like the idea of going into the girls' bathroom, he would have to. Luckily for him, it's first period and everyone is probably in class. And the few that would be in the bathroom would probably feel honored to have him there. He chuckles at the thought. Thank goodness there are stalls. He finally gets to the door that leads into the girls' bathroom. He pauses and finds his knuckles moving to touch the door. He knocks. Why is he knocking? He doesn't know. Maybe he's expecting someone to answer, maybe someone would find his knock strange and come to the door, or maybe he's trying to alert whoever is inside of his intrusion. He doesn't get a response, so he takes a deep breath and opens the door. He peeps in and sees no one, then he takes tentative steps in. Hello, is someone here? He calls out just as he notices the backpack on the floor, which looks an awful lot like Stephanie's. Stephanie was standing in front of the mirror, inspecting the damage on her shirt when she heard the knock. She found it bizarre that someone would knock on the door to the girls' bathroom, but she's grateful for the warning because she wouldn't want anyone, except Brooke, to see her like this. She immediately goes into one of the stalls to hide, making sure to lock it. Standing in the stall, she hears footsteps before the person speaks and her eyes widen. Is she hallucinating or did she just hear Chris' voice? In here? In the girls' bathroom? Hello? Chris says again, nearing the backpack to inspect it. Chris? Steph says reluctantly in a low voice, but he hears. Hazel? He mutters. What are you doing in here? In the girls'. He interrupts her. I know I'm not supposed to be in here, so do not lecture me. Fine. But can you at least tell me what you're doing in here? Steph makes sure she emphasizes the last 2 words. Chris rolls his eyes. I was looking for you. His answer makes a frown appear on Steph's face. You were looking for me? Didn't I just say that? Chris tries to stop the smile from appearing on his face, but his lips have other plans. Why were you looking for me? Steph asks the important question. I don't know. Chris starts as he moves to the sink. In case you haven't noticed, this isn't history class. And please come out of there. It's already weird standing in here, and even weirder talking to you like this. A few seconds pass before Steph replies. I can't. He turns around to face the door she's behind. You can't. What? I can't come out. Why? Is something wrong? Duh. Steph deadpans. Is it girl stuff? Should I go get Brooke? Chris asks, slightly freaked out. No. I'm just in a little bit of a situation. My shirt is torn. It's kinda ripped. She tells him slowly, eyeing the damages Poison Ivy and Aspen managed to make when she was struggling with them. Chris furrows his forehead in thought. How? Steph groans, not wanting to explain what happened right now. She just wants to get a solution to this predicament. Chris catches on. Okay. He begins to think. Then he remembers that he has a leather jacket on. He pulls it off to reveal his white t-shirt that is clinging to him like a second skin, in a way that'd make girls drool. Chris? Steph calls out after a few seconds of silence. Yeah. What are you doing? Open the door, he says, holding his jacket. No. Steph objects. Open the door a little and stick a hand out, Chris instructs. Steph hesitates before unlocking the door and sticking her left hand out. Chris puts his jacket in her outstretched hand and she retracts it back into the stall. She stares at the jacket in confusion. What am I to do with this? Wear it. He deadpans. She wasn't even supposed to ask that question. I don't want to. She purses her lips. There it is again, Chris muses. That difference. She doesn't want to put on his jacket, something he willingly gave to her. Most girls would jump at such an opportunity if it ever comes. Well, do you have another idea? Chris asks, letting out a sigh. When she doesn't answer, Chris speaks. I'll just get Brooke, she'll know what to do. No, don't. I'll put it on. Stopping Chris from going to get Brooke. Steph weighs her options. It's either she wears Chris' jacket or goes around looking like a mad person. But is she going to wear his jacket till school closes? No way. Those girls obsessed with him probably know it's his. They'd approach her and ask stupid questions. Steph slowly wears his jacket. It's bigger than her, obviously, so it looks like a hand-me-down she had gotten from Brody. Hurry up. I can't stand here all day. Steph huffs before slipping out of the stall. She stands in front of him, her eyes focused on the sleeves of the jacket as she pulls at it to reveal her hands well. Chris stares at her. He stares at her as she pulls at the sleeves of his jacket. Who knew he'd see her in his jacket so soon? And is it just him or does she look cuter in his jacket? What? Steph asks when she notices him staring. Nothing. You just look smaller in my jacket, he says. Steph glares at him before picking up her backpack from the floor. She shrugs a strap on her left shoulder and uses her right hand to tuck some of her black hair behind her ear. Can you do me a favor? Chris blinks. What is it? Take me home, Steph says, deciding on the spot to skip school. What? Please give me a ride home. Wait, why? It's just first period, Chris states. I know, but I want to go home. Are you coming back? Nope. Steph replies, heading for the exit. Chris follows her. Okay, what the fuck happened in here? I'll tell you when we get out of here without anyone noticing. She tells him just as she's about to open the door. A moment later, Chris unlocks the doors to his car in the parking lot and they enter. I can't believe you were just in the girls' bathroom, Steph says as she pulls at the sleeves again. Chris notices a bruise on her right hand. What's that bruise on your wrist? He asks, staring at it. She follows his eyes and inspects it like she's just seeing it for the first time. Your psychotic ex gave it to me. Chris recalls seeing said ex on his way to the girls' bathroom earlier. You mean Ivy did this to you? He rages. Yup, with the help of her puppet. To her, Luke is some sort of possession that she wants every girl to stay away from. Steph scoffs. Ugh. I feel like breaking her neck. You're not the only one, Chris thinks. He shakes his head sadly. I can't believe I once thought of her as a sweet girl. Steph scoffs. Sweet is not an adjective to describe her. It's quite the opposite. Please just take me home. Steph sighs, resting her head on the window as Chris starts the car. Chapter 33, The Deal. Music? Chris breaks the silence after driving off the school grounds. Steph shrugs. Sure. Chris pulls his phone out of his pocket carefully with his eyes on the road. He extends it to Steph. Because she's facing the window, she doesn't see him. Hazel, he says to gain her attention. That nickname, Steph muses as she faces him and collects the phone with a puzzled look on her face. What should I do with this? She questions. Connect it to the stereo and play some music. He instructs. Steph stares at the phone. You need to input your password. He tells her his password without hesitation. Steph narrows her eyes at him before inputting it and the phone unlocks. You just told me your password, she deadpans. So? He glances at her. I can change it and you should feel honored. Steph rolls her eyes. Okay. Steph drawls and connects the phone to the stereo. Play the first one in my favorites. She does, and one of Drake's songs starts playing. She locks the phone almost immediately so that her hand wouldn't mistakenly start wandering and looking through his phone. Chris bobs his head to the music. Let me guess, he's your favorite artist. Nah, not really. Do I even have a favorite? I listen to Eminem, Will Smith, Kendrick Lamar, and any good stuff. They all have something that makes their music special. True. Steph nods. What about you? Which is your favorite boy band? It seems like every girl has one band they're crazy over or something. Some are still hoping that One Direction gets back together. Chris rolls his eyes. I don't dislike them or anything, but seriously, that's life, deal with it. Chris adds. Steph smiles. Yeah, and I don't have one. Chris' eyes dart to her before focusing on the road. Really? I find that hard to believe. Are you sure you're not one of the Directioners? Nope. 5SOS? Nope. Not even BTS? He asks quizzically. Steph laughs. Nope. Wow. That's surprising. So who do you listen to? Ariana Grande, Taylor Swift, Selena Gomez, Lauv, Shawn Mendes, and some others. Oh, and I also like Nicki Minaj. Steph beams. Really? Can you rap? He smirks. That's for me to know and you to find out. She simpers. Just tell me. No. Steph concentrates on the song about to start and it sounds awfully familiar. Chris's eyes widen and he reaches over to change the song, but Steph stops him. Seriously? You have her songs in your favorites? Steph guffaws just as she realizes the song is Into You by Ariana Grande. No, I don't. Chris denies immediately. It's only this one. Steph gives him a look that says he doesn't believe him. She checks his phone to see about 5 more of her songs. That's not what I'm seeing here, she asserts as she checks his playlist. Chris glances at her. Don't blame me. Her songs are catchy. Or she's your celebrity crush. Steph guffaws to Chris' chagrin. Chris notices a cafe up ahead as he drives. He visits the cafe once in a while, sometimes with Max and Jason. Hey, do you mind if we stop at that cafe? I'm suddenly craving donuts, he tells Steph. Like you need to ask for permission from me. Steph huffs, which makes Chris smile. They arrive at the cafe and Chris parks the car. Chris gets out of the car, expecting Steph to do too, but when he turns to shut the door, he finds her still seated comfortably on the passenger seat. He motions for her to follow. Let's go. Steph unbuckles her seatbelt and reaches for the door handle. She realizes she's still wearing Chris' jacket, and then she replays what happened at school in her head. She still feels like breaking Ivy's neck. Hazel, Chris pokes his head into the car and stared at her. Come on, let's go. I'm not going. She shakes her head vehemently. I'll wait in here for you. No, you're coming with me. No, I'm staying in the car. Why? Chris inquires. Look at me. Steph starts. I'm wearing an oversized leather jacket that happens to be yours. People will be staring. Chris chuckles. You look cute in my jacket. People might stare because of how cool we'll look like a couple. They'll just think I'm your boyfriend. Steph snorts. And you're wearing my awesome jacket. People find that very romantic, you know. Chris laughs lightly because of the look on her face. That's ridiculous. Just go, I'll wait here. Steph says with a serious look on her face. Fine, Chris says in a dry tone. He'll just have to drag her then. Steph looks at him suspiciously when he agrees. She was expecting him to persist until she gives in. But she's relieved he has agreed. She watches him shut the door, but instead of heading straight into the cafe, he comes to her side, and before she can react, he opens the door with a smile on his lips and his green eyes twinkling. What are you doing? Steph asks in a curious tone. We're going in there together, Chris says and grabs her hand. Hey! Steph exclaims. I said I'm not going anywhere. She tries to pry her hand out of his grip, but he doesn't budge. He holds her tight, but not enough to hurt her. Let's go. He begins to pull her out of the car. No, no. Christopher. She glares at him, but he only smiles wider. He succeeds in pulling her out of the car before shutting the door. Then he begins this walk in the direction of the entrance, dragging Steph along. Let me go, Chris. Please, I don't want to go. She tries to wriggle her hand from his grasp, but he doesn't let go. Don't make a scene, Hazel. He walks them into the cafe, a friendly chime welcoming them. I'll get you for this, Chris. Steph says with the most threatening voice she can muster. Go ahead. Chris chuckles. Steph huffs, no longer struggling. I look like a goof swimming in your jacket. You look cute, he says as he finds them a table close to the window. He pulls out a chair for her to sit and then releases her hand. Wow, such a gentleman. Steph scoffs sarcastically. Chris settles in the seat opposite her. Chris smiles one of his charming smiles, but instead of saying something, he finds himself staring at her, taking in all her features. Steph notices and begins to feel uncomfortable under his gaze after a moment of him staring. She clears her throat, and that seems to bring him back to planet Earth. There is this awkward silence before Chris breaks it. So what would you like to have? Nothing, she answers, pulling at the sleeves of his jacket. I'm here because you dragged me, so I don't want anything. You're getting something. Even if it's just coffee, he asserts. She narrows her eyes at him and he smirks. They stare at each other. Steph seems to be challenging him with her eyes, but it doesn't look like Chris is backing down. Fine, Steph breaks eye contact, sighing. But I'm paying. Nope. Chris drawls. I am paying, that's what a gentleman does. Sure. Steph says with sarcasm that Chris detects. I've always been a gentleman, Hazel. You just didn't notice. Why do you think girls love me? He smirks. Steph shakes her head. You are something. Just then, a girl with highlights in her blonde hair walks over to their table. Hi and welcome. May I take your order, please? She asks, a little too chirpy for Steph's liking. Her eyes are solely focused on Chris' figure like he's the only one in the room. According to her name tag, she's Ashley and she looks fresh out of high school, not much older than they are. Steph feels like Ashley doesn't even know she's seated opposite the guy she's feasting her eyes on. Chris smiles at Ashley before facing her. What do you want, Hazel? Only then does Ashley seem to notice Steph. Steph looks away when Ashley narrows her eyes at her. She glances at the chalkboard menu close by and decides on what to have. A strawberry milkshake. Chris nods and then faces Ashley, who has a smile back on. A strawberry milkshake for her, a chocolate donut and espresso for me, he tells Ashley. I'll be back in a minute. She smiles and winks before walking away. She was just flirting with you. Steph deadpans. You've got that right, Hazel. They just can't resist me, Chris says smugly, brushing off imaginary dust off his shoulders. Chris sees a scowl appear on her face. Your cockiness irks me and I'm getting tired of it. It was a joke, Hazel. Chillax. She doesn't say anything, but at least the scowl on her face disappears. And about my being cocky, let's make a deal. I'll stop being cocky around you if you'll stop being distant with me, Chris avers calmly as if he has rehearsed saying this for a long time. Distant? Steph mumbles, pretending to not know what he's talking about. She had thought he didn't notice, but apparently he did. You know what I'm talking about, Hazel. Chris folds his arms across his chest as he studies her. She refuses to meet his gaze. Deal or no deal? Steph sighs. Fine, deal. She doesn't want him to ask her why she's been acting that way. And she's also tired of his narcissism. Chris beams. Great. Ashley returns with their order. Enjoy, she says flirtatiously, touching Chris' shoulder before walking away. She was flirting again. Geez. Some people are just weird. A thought comes to Chris' mind, but he thinks it's impossible, yet that doesn't stop him from asking. Hazel, are you jealous? He smirks to cover the fact that he's really hoping that she is. Steph stares at him like he has said the most absurd thing in the history of mankind before bursting into laughter. Jealous? Of who? That flirt or you? That wipes the smirk off Chris' face. You're so funny, she adds before picking up her milkshake and sucking through the straw. Chris wants to say something, but he doesn't. Something about the tone she just used causes a pang in his chest, and he has no idea why. He picks up his coffee and sips from the styrofoam cup, looking around the cafe. His eyes lock with Ashley's, and she winks at him. Chris clears his throat as if clearing the awkward air. Since we are here, why don't we get to know each other better? He suggests. Steph looks away from the window to face him. What do you have in mind? Let's ask each other questions. This or that, would you rather anything as long as it's not one that would piss the other off? He gives her a knowing look. Like the one you asked me during detention that day. Steph laughs lightly. That was funny. I'll start. Sure, he says. Steph notices him eyeing the donut. He rubs his hands together and then picks it to take a bite. He closes his eyes for a moment and moans, clearly enjoying it. This is so good. It has been so long since I had one. When last? Saturday. Chris answers before taking another bite. He had a donut on Saturday and he's acting like he hasn't had one in forever, Steph muses. I see you like donuts. Steph voices her thoughts. Aha. It has a special place in my heart. Whoever made them first is a legend. Wow. I feel like you're dating it or something. Steph teases him. At least she won't break my heart. Chris sighs, his demeanor changing. A few beats pass before he speaks again, back to his old self. What's your first question? Steph twirls her milkshake that she's halfway through as she thinks of a question. What's your favorite food? Chris grins. Donut. Donut is a snack, Christopher. Steph chides, shaking her head slightly. Lasagna. Me too. Nice. Chris smiles. Having finished his donut, he's sipping his coffee. When's your birthday? He asks in a curious tone. 5th of May. Steph replies. I didn't know. You didn't even know about my existence then. She retorts. When's yours? 23rd of December. You're a festive baby, huh? Steph grins. He shrugs. What are your hobbies, festive baby? Playing basketball, watching action movies, and sometimes playing video games. You? Reading novels and watching movies. I guessed right. Chris beams. Tell me something about yourself. Steph slurps her milkshake. Well, I love watching horror movies. You're kidding. Chris gapes, resting his arms on the table and leaning forward. Steph laughs. I'm serious. Why? He has a puzzled look on his face. Steph shrugs. I don't know, I find them funny. Scary movies are humorous to me. Maybe it's because I know they're not real. That's crazy, Chris remarks. I know. Brooke thinks that too. I don't usually get scared, but I definitely don't find them funny. Chris quips. Steph smiles at the expression on his face. He shakes his head as if to shake off that piece of information. He looks around as if checking to see if someone is eavesdropping. Let me tell you a secret. Okay. Steph drawls, giving him an expectant look. She also leans on the table so that they're closer to each other. I used to like watching sappy romance movies. Chris reveals. Steph gives him an incredulous look with a raised eyebrow, obviously not believing him. I'm serious, Chris says in a deadly serious tone as he leans back on his chair. Steph espies his face, looking for evidence that he's lying but finds none. Whoa! This is golden. You like watching romance movies. What's your favorite? The Notebook? Steph snickers. She doesn't like watching romance movies, but when you're having a friend like Brooke, you'll get used to it. It is not. Chris defends himself calmly. Maybe you and Brooke can become movie buddies. Steph guffaws. I don't watch them anymore, and you're not supposed to tell anyone, remember? It's a secret. It can ruin my reputation. Chris does air quotes with an eye roll, which only makes Steph laugh harder. Why don't you watch them anymore? People change. Chris shrugs, not wanting to tell her that he stopped watching when Ivy broke his heart. They continue talking, asking each other questions, getting to know each other better. By the time they decide to leave, they've known a lot about each other. They exit the cafe, laughing about something. In the car, they listen to more music and bond some more before Chris pulls into her driveway. Silence envelopes them after Chris kills the engine. Steph unbuckles her seatbelt and glances at him. Do you want to come in? Chris smiles. She's comfortable enough to invite him into the house. Progress. Maybe another time, Hazel. I need to get back to school. Oh, okay. She bites her bottom lip, realizing she's still wearing his jacket. Your jacket. You can keep it. No way. I'll give it to you in school tomorrow, she says. Whatever suits you. Chris shrugs. Thanks for bringing me home. You're welcome. And you're not a bad guy. You're actually fun to be with. She reveals. Why, thank you. Chris grins. This is the first time you're saying something nice about me. Steph laughs and opens the door to get out. I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, Chris mutters. Take care of that bruise. I will. Steph smiles and shuts the door. She watches Chris back out of the driveway and drives away before heading into the house and up to her room. After pulling off Chris' jacket, she finds herself bringing it closer to her nose to sniff it. She sighs as though in relief before dropping it on her bed and heading for the bathroom.